You Can Become a Hero by Orphaned Account on AO3. Episode 11, Chapter 8, A Hero to be Proud of. The explosion happened 3 days later. No one was prepared, least of all Dabi, who was enjoying some of his freedom spending time catching up with Fuyumi. If he had known, he would have gotten her out of there as fast as he could. If he had more time to react, he would have called Hawks in a heartbeat. Beside him, being at least 30 minutes away from where he was currently. Halfway through his cup of coffee, Dabi stood to get more napkins for Fuyumi. She thanked him, trying her best to collect the muffin crumbles all over the table. It felt so real, acting like an older brother having to deal with his younger siblings. Their antics and habits. He experienced it such a long time ago. It was strange. It wasn't a bad feeling in any form of the word. He sat a fat, broad brown napkin onto the table, about to resume his posture on the other side of the booth. Just as he was about to sit down again, the explosion went off. The coffee shop shook violently for only a second, the windows being clouded with a thick cloud of debris. Dabi jerked up, instinctively pushing Fuyumi back in case the windows broke. They didn't. The more little explosions were held outside somewhere. Stay right fucking here. Don't move. Dabi hissed to Fuyumi, anger filling into him as he thought who was behind this. Had the League been a part of this attack in broad daylight? He had always assumed he was the only one crazy enough to do that. You can't go out there. You aren't allowed to fight, right? Fuyumi reached to grab his hand, but he had moved swiftly, exiting the cafe. To his relief, she didn't follow him as he walked out into the streets. In the middle of the street, less than a block down, was a large villain holding a street sign he had ripped from the ground. Beside him was a smaller man, hunched over and with a radio on his head. Dabi didn't recognize them from the League, which eased his nerves a little. Then again, he still wasn't in a great position. He wasn't technically allowed to fight, but he had to protect his sister. He also was only wearing black pants, boots, and a long gray sleeve shirt. It might have been better if he had been in his hero outfit, but he wasn't about to go duck into a phone booth to change Clint Clark style. No way, the large man said, settling down the sign occupying his hands. Man, isn't that one of the League guys? Twice or something? Dabi's eyebrows twitched as the skinnier man replied. I think you mean Dabi. What do you think? Should we welcome him in style? With that, the man pressed down a button in the radio. In seconds, another explosion went off, less than 20 yards away from where he was standing. Ducking, Dabi gritted his teeth, protecting the coffee shop. That was his only goal. Slowly, Dabi stood up and held out a hand, summoning blue flames to his fingertips. There was no way he could hit them from this distance, unless he was planning to over-text himself right away. That, or burn his hand to a crisp. He could already feel the fire eating away at his sleeves. He stepped over the rubble around him, rushing straight towards them. However, just as he was about to latch his hand onto the small man's face, the larger one turned and grasped at his arm. He must have had a strength work, because the second he applied pressure to Dabi's arm, the hero could hear a snap. Dabi's flames quelled immediately, and in their place was a scream in pain. He stumbled, struggling to pull his arm from his grip, but that only increased the pressure. The villain seemed amused as he lifted Dabi into the air, watching him sway and gasp in pain. Ha! Nice try, little flea. Name's Stronghold. Ain't nothing getting away from me. How pathetic. I've heard so much about you as well. The skinnier man sighed. Guess it's up-and-coming villains are gonna have to easier time if they put someone like you on the Vanguard Action Squad. They should have trusted me with the position. Radio face. With the power to manipulate sound waves and plotting my skills, I could bring all heroes to their knees. Radio face turned to Dabi and laughed in his face. I've had enough insight to plant these bombs weeks in advance. I wonder how High-End would have gone if the mission was in our hands. He was just as crazy as Toga, At least that's what Dabi decided to tell himself. He bit down on the inside of his cheek as Stronghold turned to look him around, filleting him as he did so. He could feel the staples at his chest opening up, skin peeling back uncomfortably in the process. It hurt like hell. He couldn't feel much of his arm, a lot less than usual. The pain was overwhelming, as if his bones had turned to nothing but splinters, digging into muscle and skin with ease. He closed his eyes tightly as he tried to keep himself together. The staples on his face tugged uncomfortably around his lips as he forced his broken arm to catch on fire, burning off part of his shirt in the process. Stronghold howled, dripping his mangled arm immediately. "Oh, that hurt!" "Good," Dabi choked out, not sparing a glance to his arm, which hung limply at his side as he found his balance. His other hand shot up, flames licking at his fingertips. "And this will hurt a whole lot more." "Stronghold, get him!" But the flames!" "No buts!" Radiohead argued, cursing under his breath. "Keep him busy as I detonate the rest of the bombs. This whole street's going up in smithereens." "Not on my fucking watch," Dabi hissed, launching himself forward once more. This time, he allowed his flames to travel more distance, shooting right into Stronghold's face. The large man screeched, covering his eyes. Radiohead paled, quickly pressing a few more buttons. Explosion after explosion rang out. Dabi couldn't help himself from turning to see if Fuyumi was okay inside the cafe. She was, but there was no telling who was injured from the past explosions. Hopefully there were heroes on their way. People actually qualified to do this. Either way, he silently apologized in advance for engaging in combat, and for what he was going to continue to do. He hoped his words would carry into the wind, barely a whisper, yet loud enough for a feather or two to mull over the words and understand. Spread the information to their source. "Now hold on, little flea," Stronghold pleaded, grabbing blindly for Dabi. His partner screeched at him to open his damn eyes, but the man made no attempt to do so. Luckily, he was massive, yet incredibly slow. Slow enough that Dabi could evade capture, even with his arm fucked up. Using this to his advantage, Dabi managed to burn Stronghold quite a few times, burning his skin right off his arms and chest until the man was on his knees, panicking. "I can't catch him! Too fast! It burns! Hurry up!" The man whined, radio face gritted his teeth, aggressively trying to push certain buttons, but one concentration blast sent right into his chest, stopping him dead in his tracks. Shriek in pain, Dabi stepped forward, freezing when he spotted two heroes rushing onto the scene. They weren't well known, but he didn't care. He allowed them to take his place with ease, but still lingered nearby, preparing to assist if they needed him. In no time, they had both men on cuffs once Dabi explained, though ragged breaths, what their quirks were. Cops showed up in no time, but still, Dabi stood, eyes locked on the two villains, just as he was about to slump over, tired as hell. A familiar figure was spotted in the sky. Dabi wished he had the strength to yell to Hawks to check on Fuyumi, but his throat felt raw and otherworldly, so he didn't bother struggling when he was suddenly in Hawks' arms, the blonde's face buried in his neck as his body jolted. "I hate you so much!" Hawks whispered as he held him closer, unaware of the pain searing through Dabi's arm as he did so. The ex-villain didn't bother to explain, instead closing his eyes in relief. Even with the two other pro-heroes and the cops present, it didn't feel safe until Hawks showed up. Now, he just had to tell them to find Fuyumi. "You're such an idiot, you know that. You could have called me, or something. I had to hear you were getting your ass handed to you from a news station." "Hey, I didn't lose." Dabi huffed, but Hawks just shook his head. Dabi could feel something warm in his neck, and he could only hope it wasn't blood. Just his luck to be a bloody heap of injections and wounds in front of Hawks. "And what is that going to leave you?" Hawks huffed, wings bunched up to his side as he narrowed his eyes. "Days in the hospitals? Maybe weeks?" Dabi didn't reply, as Hawks held him closer, wrapping an arm under Dabi's knee to carry him. He tried to tell Hawks to check on Fuyumi, but found he couldn't as his cheeks touched the false facade of Hawks' jacket. He could see blood begin to pool onto the fabric, so he closed his eyes as tight as he could, trying to ignore the pain. How bad is it? I didn't see anything on the broadcast before I flew over, Hawk said, stepping over a large hunk of rubble. But you don't look so good. I'm surprised you haven't passed out. I always look good, Dabi murmured, keeping his eyes closed as Hawks walked. Through the pain, he could feel feathers trickling over his skin. Some relaxed by his wounds, while others hovered over his mouth and nose. Sure you do, hot stuff. Now let's get you stitched up. Literally. Dabi hummed a little in response, but then began to drift off. The last thoughts to cross his mind was Fuyumi, sitting in the coffee shop, all alone. Hopefully the two heroes knew what they were doing and were going to keep her safe. When Dabi woke up, he was surrounded by feathers and 3 bouquets of flowers. Red feathers were spread all over his bed in neat piles, which was weird, but he didn't question it. Turning, he glanced over to the flowers and the cards that showed who brought them. One was from Hawks, and had mostly wildflowers mixed with some daisies. Dabi smiled a little, hoping the hero had found them on the side of the road instead of actually buying them. It looked much like a bouquet next to it. It was compromised by dandelions and other small flowers. On the card was red crayon with a bunch of people drawn on it and names. He supposed it was from Yumi's class. And the last one, and by far the biggest of them all, was his family. Dabi referred the other two, but still acknowledged the large, punctuous flowers bulging from the pile. Turning his attention away, he reached towards a feather and stroked it lightly. In seconds, Hawks came bursting through the door, arms filled with vending machine chips and candy. Oh shit, seriously? The moment I leave, you decide to rise from the dead? Do you want me to pretend that I'm still knocked out? For a moment, yeah, that'll be appreciated. Dabi rolled his eyes, then closed his eyes. Hawks crept over, but the bag crinkling in his bed revealed his position early until he climbed onto his bed, sitting at the edge by Dabi's knees. Once he was settled, Dabi opened his eyes once more and gasped. Hawks, I didn't expect to see you here, he said, deadpan as always. You know what? With that attitude, I'm not going to give you any of my Cheerios. Hawks, I am so happy to see you. Much better. Hawks ripped open a bag, taking off his black gloves. And you'll also be happy to know that you're going to be fine. I mean, your arm, at least. The doctor took one look at your staples and they were mortified. Typical. Dabi attempted to sit up. Notice his good arm held in place with an IV and the other bound in a cast. Wordlessly, Hawks placed a Cheeto to his lips. He took it, chewing slowly. His jaw ached, but he didn't mention anything to his friend as he dug through the bag and ate a Cheerio of his own. Yeah, I was trying to tell them that you were a fucking idiot, but they didn't believe me. So I'd like to say you are going to be released soon, but that isn't the case. What? Another Cheerio was shoved in his mouth. Dabi glared, but ate it. They were then going to do skin grafts for your arm, but then they figured out your whole body is burned to hell and back. Hawks continued. So they had to find donors, which was a pain in the ass. Please tell me they didn't put other people's skin on me. Another Cheerio. They couldn't find 1 in 1,000 people to cover you entirely? No. Hawks munched on a Cheeto. But they did order some artificial skin for you, so don't go picking your arm or anything, or I'll staple your hand to the bed. I can tell if you're being like that because you really care, or you're still upset. Hawk shoved a Cheeto into his mouth, avoiding eye contact instead. He stared at the serving size in the bag with keen interest. Dabi swallowed and noted that the hero was definitely a little bit upset. It was better than him not talking, though. After everything that has happened, it'd have been shitty if you had died right there and then. Hawks murmured. Dabi could see the exact moment Hawks shifted back into his scary no-nonsense self, and it was a little terrifying how fast it came. He didn't know the hero was capable of such seriousness. Even when he was with the League, he always seemed too intent on joking and lying about their meetups without a care in the world. But here he was, lips pressed in a straight line, and sharp eyes staring him down. Sorry, I worried you. You should say that to Fuyumi when you see her next. She was freaking out. Okay, as of recording this, I have a very clingy cat behind me, which I completely understand why Storm is so clingy. He literally just came back from surgery, so he's literally sitting behind me as I record, and he's just sitting there. It's actually kind of disheartening seeing him in such a state. Seeing him so loopy and not himself is really disheartening. Like, is this what parents feel when their kids come out of surgery and they look so weird? In the sense of, like, loopiness? Because holy shit, it makes me want to cry. Anyways, I actually quite like their banter that they had. The little, oh, do you want me to pretend to fall asleep? Okay. Oh, Hawks, you're here. Be a little more grateful or else I'm not going to share my Cheetos. Oh my god, Hawks, I'm so happy you're here. Like, I love that little banter. That was so cute. Hawks doting like a mother hen. I absolutely love that trope. Ugh, top tier, 10 out of 10. Absolutely love, love, love. And I cannot wait to read the rest of this chapter. The rest of this chapter. Is this being posted on Valentine's Day? It's not. I think it's past Valentine's Day. Yeah, it's past Valentine's Day. My bad. I don't think I said Happy Valentine's Day for this series though, so Happy Valentine's Day? Also, I read the explosion thing. I'm like, what the fuck? Hold on. Hold. So we're going fast. We're going fast. I'm actually really digging this fic so far. This might become a bookmark. I'm gonna be honest with you. This might become a bookmark. I'm really picky with my bookmarks. Like, I read 100 fics a year. And literally just last year, I only did, 12 bookmarks? Like, I pick very little bookmarks to do. Like, if I bookmark it, that means that either it is a phenomenal writing, it is a really good fic, or it is really shitty, I really hated it, but it was so goddamn entertaining, I could not put it down. Because, like, okay, sometimes you have your junk food, right? I don't have that much junk food when it comes to fan fiction, because, like, I have a limit to what I can do reading-wise. Like, if your writing is absolutely atrocious, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna respectfully click out. I'm not gonna leave a hate comment or anything, but I'm just gonna respectfully click out. I'm gonna put it in my notes that I did it, and I just won't recommend that fic to anybody, right? If somebody's looking for a specific fic like that, I'll be like, hey, here's this fic. Personally, I did not like the writing style, but again, personally. But sometimes there is a fic, I know there's one fic out there that I absolutely the writing is absolutely atrocious, but it's got me hooked for some fucking reason. The plot is shit, the pacing is shit, the writing is shit, everything is shit, but it's so goddamn fucking entertaining, I can't put it down, right? And I love it so much. I'm not gonna say what it is, because I already said that everything else is shit about it. I'm not gonna say what it is. And you can check my bookmarks all you want, but it's a private bookmark. Because there are some private bookmarks I have, right? There's private and then there's public bookmarks. I need to go through my bookmarks, make sure everything's good. But there's certain things that I bookmark that are private for a reason. Whether it be because it is actually shit and I would not recommend it to anybody else, I just for some reason really like it, or I just want the fact that I like this specific fic to be private. You know, kind of situation. Anyways, but yeah, I am. Sometimes you get those fics that are just, trash, but you love them. Like Miraculous Ladybug. That show is shit. The writing is shit. The animation could be better. The animation's alright, I guess. It's, like, not phenomenal, but it's, like, a show animation, so, like, what are you expecting? The writing is shit. The pacing is absolute dog water. It is literally a kid's show, so it gets repetitive and episodic, and it is absolute garbage. And I consume it, because I love it. Okay, that's all I have to say. I'm really loving this fic so far. I'm definitely going to bookmark it. It's definitely going to go public. I'm definitely probably going to recommend this one to people down the road. If anybody wants a Hot Wings fic, I have the one and it's right here. So far, I'm really digging it. So, okay. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.